Hello, welcome to our channel. My name is Evangelist Aiden Lambert. Very excited that you joined with us today for Testimony Tuesday. Today I'm here with Evangelist Diego Clavijo. He is Ecuadorian. He is now living in Louisiana. He is absolutely amazing, a friend of mine from the Christ for All Nations School of Evangelism, and he's here with us today to share his story with us. But before we jump into that, if you'd like to support us, please hit the subscribe button down below in this video. Feel free to go to our website, which has a link in the description box at www.lambertministries.org. You can find ways to donate on there, as well as shop page if you'd like to get some of our merchandise. I am wearing some right now. Shameless plug, but we're so happy to have you with us today. But let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Like I said, Diego Clavijo from Louisiana, originally from Ecuador, amazing man of God, powerful testimony, powerful speaker. I know I've heard it. So I pray that this testimony be a blessing to you and that it would stir some up in your faith. So go right ahead, Bus.
Well, hey, hello everybody. I'm so glad to be here. It's an honor being here with Lambert Ministries. Aiden, you know you're like a brother to me. So it is an honor to be here. I don't really share my testimony a lot, so I'm kind of excited. Especially, I hope that there's people there that are going to be able to listen to this and maybe that went through something similar or are going through something similar, or that you can relate it any kind of way of the things that God has done in my life. And I feel like that's what it's all about. It's what God has done for me that He can do for you. And He does things for me because that gives you hope and that gives you the ability of knowing that what He did for me, He's going to do for you at some point, or He's already doing it. So I am very excited to share this because I feel like my testimony is kind of common, but at the same time, it's not shared that much. The way that the way that I became a Christian, the way that I came to know God, is not really something that people like to share, get up on stage and start sharing of what happened to them to get to this point. So I'm kind of excited to do this because I think that it's going to help somebody that might be start feeling lost or start feeling like God doesn't care for them, and hopefully that by the time I'm done, whoever is listening, that you will know that if God was able to take me out of a pit, and if God was able to restore me and make me the person that I am now, the Christian that I'm now, and the Son of God that I'm now, that He can do the same for you. So before I get started, I wanted to just kind of start by saying that my testimony is going to be kind of like in three parts. I wanted to break it down in three different parts because I feel like my life was broken down in these three different parts as I was becoming who I am now. The first one is before Christ, before I got to know Christ, before I found Him or He found me. Um, the actual part of finding Him, and then after Christ. Because a lot of the times we talk about the testimony, we talk about the getting found by Christ or getting saved, as we say, but we never talk about what happens after. We never talk about sometimes being a Christian is not as easy as we make it seem and all those things. And sometimes we believe that by getting saved, everything just magically it becomes perfect and easy, and life just becomes something, basically something easy to go through. And it's not really that case. So that's why I want to talk about the after getting saved, so that people that maybe you just got saved and maybe you just are not knowing what to do, what God's doing in your life, maybe to give you a little hope, and maybe just to show you that sometimes when you trust God, things just happen, and He just opens doors, and He just moves on your life, and He does things to restore you. But by saying that, I can start with basically before life, before God, before I knew God, and like Aiden said, I was born and raised in Ecuador, hence the accent. But
Which is beautiful, by the way.
thank you. It is hard to say some things, so it's hard to talk on the phone with some people. It's like, can you repeat that? No, but anyways, I was born and raised in Ecuador. You were in Ecuador not too long ago. It's a beautiful place. It's an amazing place, but
It's gorgeous.
It is. But some of the things that people don't know about other countries in general, especially here in America, is that religion and just denominations are different in other countries than they're here. We believe that sometimes we think that because Catholicism here is going to be like the same way there, or
It's way
Baptist,
different.
it is so different. So, and another thing that people don't realize is religion is not a big part of so many people's lives than culture is. In my country, in Ecuador, people are Catholic not because of the spiritual side of being Catholic, but because of the cultural side of being Catholic. It's something that you're born with, it's something that you're just taught, and you really never understand why. And you're not very devoted Catholic whenever you live in Ecuador. It's not like you go to church every Sunday. It's not like you show up every time that the church opens, and nothing like that. It's just a way of saying you're Catholic because you're Ecuadorian. Kind of same like you used to be here in America. You were Christian because you were American.
Italians are the same way. They're born
Yes.
Roman Catholic. They are Roman Catholic. They don't know anything different, but they also don't really know Jesus. They just know, I don't know. I do my communion and get baptized, drizzle with water, and that's it. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
weird.
And you confess like a couple times in your lifetime, and that's it.
That's
So
it.
we're not really taught much. I was fortunate enough that my mom didn't really fit into the cultural aspect of Ecuador, so she was not really Catholic. So growing up, we didn't really have a religion. We went to a Baptist church every now and then. It was not like every Sunday. It wasn't a devotion to the church or a devotion to actually getting to know Christ. There was a lady that would come to my house and teach me a little bit about Jesus every now and then. So I got saved for the first time. I'd say for the first time because I was like 9 years old. I don't really remember much. I was doing it because my entire family wanted to get baptized, and me and my brother just did it because it was something we were doing. So we didn't really know Jesus. After that, I went through a spell of a lot of things that a teenager should not go through. uh, Drinking alcohol, sex, stuff like that. Just experimenting with small drugs and stuff like that. Just things that people shouldn't actually go through at that age. But because we didn't have any kind of Christian example in our lives, me and my friends, my brother, and stuff like that, it just seemed like okay. And start experimenting with pornography and all those little things at the age of like 11 and 12. It kind of like scars your life, you know, and
Yeah.
it kind of puts you in a place where this is just what it is. And because this kind of sins and this kind of principalities live in that territory, it's kind of like something that everybody does. I never saw pornography as something like bad for you because all of my friends were doing it. I know many adults that were doing it. Um, I had a friend that his dad will take him to prostitutes and actually have him like lose his virginity there, and
Wow.
it was just like, and he was like 11 or 12, and it felt like this is just what we do, you know. I remember growing up. Every time that we went to the streets or like just walked around, I remember every man would look at a woman walk by and just lust over her and stuff like that. And it's like maybe it's just the way that it's supposed to be. So you start growing up on those things, and it just kind of stays in your heart. It's yeah. It basically just grabs a hold of your heart, and it tries to become what you are. So it tries to make you think that you are this principality, this thing, and it just kind of defines you. So you became a person that is that in my experience, it was I became a person that was filled with lust, filled with the idea of wanting to be cool, trying to follow the crowd and all these things. But I was fortunate enough that at the age of 17, my mom put me in an exchange student program. I got out of the Ecuador culture and I moved to the United States. I was an exchange student for a year. I actually found Christ for the first time in a real form in a Southern Baptist church in Bryant, Arkansas. And it was a pastor, a youth pastor, who actually cared about the youth, and he would have some of the boys come during week time after school, and he would teach us the Bible, something that I never really got to learn from. You know, he will actually encourage me to read it, try to figure it out what it means to me, and then he would basically talk about it, explain it later. So it wasn't a I'm gonna teach you what I think about the Bible, and that's right because I say so. It was more of a I want you to go read it, see what God says to you, and then we're gonna discuss it. We're gonna see what we're gonna talk about it. And if something that you say is completely wrong, we're gonna change that. We're gonna fix it. But it was awesome because I got to actually experience a God that cared about what I thought. I got to experience a God that actually was talking to me,
Wow.
and it was awesome. But I was taken away from that in a month, so I was only there for a month, and I was hungry for it. So I started looking at the new place. It was called Vivian, Louisiana, that I moved. And in the new church, I was looking for a place that I could basically have the same thing, something that I could learn. I was 17 years old. I was just starting to learn about God, and I started to feel a calling in my life. And I had a youth pastor there who I would try to do the same thing to meet with. Maybe you can explain to me some things. Maybe you can go through some stuff with me. And he was not like that. He didn't like the idea of me reading the Bible and trying to figure stuff for myself. It was more of a we're Baptist and we're going to do this way, and this is the way that it is. And when I would talk about calling and stuff, he said, God did not call you. You've only been saved for like a month. Uh,
Wow.
you have no calling and all that stuff. Uh, in and within that season, I went to that church for a couple months, and one of my friends decided to invite me to a new church. It was the first Assembly of God church, Spirit Field. And I went to my pastor and I told him about it, and he said, "No, they speak in tongues, and that's of the devil." He said, "Do not go there, and if you do go there, don't listen to anything they say."
Mm.
And I was like, "Okay." So my friend insisted, and eventually I decided, why not? Let's give it a try. I went to a First Assembly full gospel revival night um, with an evangelist who is a great friend of mine, like a brother to me. And he's I didn't know him at the time, but he preached and he preached. I will never forget the sermon. Nobody remembers it, but I will never forget this sermon. It was the first time that I actually felt the power of God in my life.
Wow.
That he was speaking on sometimes God has to crush you to get the oil out of you, kind of like he does olives. Like you have
Yeah.
to crush olives to get the oil, and he was talking about that, and I was like, I didn't understand exactly what he was saying. I guess I didn't understand the meaning of oil and all that stuff, but I felt something for the first time, and I started trying to do the same thing where I would go with him and I would actually try to listen, and he would listen to me, and he will every time I had questions about the Bible, he would answer those questions. So shout out to Evangelist, now pastor because he's pastor in a church now. Dustin Townsend, amazing man of God. Love you, dude, if you're listening. But um, he preached that message. He would talk to me, and the funny thing is, right at the time is when I started learning about Acts. I was reading Acts, and I will ask him questions about it. And while I was asking him questions, he will actually answer. The other pastor in the Baptist church, he would not want to talk about it, and he
Mm.
would tell me not to read it. And he actually will encourage me to read it, and he will explain what tongues were, and he will explain why people will get enslaved in the spirit, and all those different things. And he became a great friend. He lives not too far from here, but after that, he obviously went back home. He was an evangelist, so he wasn't able to stay. And I kept going to this church, and I met a girl, like everybody else. I met a girl, and I fell in love. She was in the youth group, and she played the piano, and it was probably the most beautiful girl I've ever seen back then. And she she and I started talking. Her parents were the youth pastors at the church, and they did not approve. They didn't want her to date until she was older, and all these different things. So um, whenever they found out that we were talking, I already had moved back to Ecuador, and then I got accepted to college. And I have moved out to Ecuador. I got accepted to college, moved back to New York. It was a crazy time in my life where I was moving everywhere. And we were talking on the phone, and her parents told her that she couldn't talk to me anymore. They got her phone. We stopped talking for a while, and eventually I received a message one day, and I think this is where maybe it started going wrong, is when you start trying to hide things. And
Yeah.
me and this girl started to kind of talk behind her parents' back. She was younger. I was 18. She was 16. Um, So it was not okay. But at the same time, I mean, I was a kid. I didn't know what I was doing, I guess. We started talking. We talked for about 2 years until she turned 18. And whenever she turned 18, that's when we decided that we were gonna like bring her family into it. Actually letting them know that we kept talking, that we've been talk. Well, not really that we've been talking, but that we want to start a relationship, a real thing. And we did. At first, they were not thrilled, but things started changing, and little by little, God started moving and doing things. Obviously, we were not living the life that two Christians should be living, doing things over the phone that we should not be doing. Um, but it did keep me away from other stuff because I wanted to get home to talk to her instead of going out and partying in New York City. So it did keep me away from some stuff. But eventually, I ended up marrying this girl. I moved back down to Louisiana. We got married. We started a business. It grew really, really much. We started making a lot of money. And I do believe that when you root yourself into money or into your business or into your work and you don't put God in the center of it, some stuff starts changing. And something in your heart starts making it like where you have an arrogance to yourself. And that's something I did. I started becoming arrogant. I started thinking that I did all this stuff. I became this successful businessman and a salesman that was really good at selling
Yeah.
stuff. And I started like being very arrogant towards everything. Like I felt like I was better than everybody else. I felt like there was so many things. And my wife, who by now was the worship leader of the church, she started changing. She went from being um, just a regular sweet girl to somebody that wanted to spend the most money, somebody that wanted to have the best thing out of everything. Every time somebody buys something, every time somebody got something expensive, she wanted something better to show that she had more money, and stuff like that. And it started to be where we were not rooted. And I believe it was because I was supposed to lead that home, and I was not a leader. I was saved, but I didn't know God. I went to church every Sunday, but I had no relationship with God. Um, I went to church every Sunday, but I didn't know who He was, and worse, He didn't know me either. I
Wow.
had no effort to try to even be something good for my wife. So, if you're listening here today and you're a husband and you don't know Christ and you go to church every Sunday because you have to, and you go to church because I don't know, is what everybody else does. I want to tell you that in just a little bit. I'm going to tell you that my marriage died, and the reason, one of the main reasons, is because I did not lead my home. Is because I watched my wife go up there and play for the whole congregation and all that stuff, while I was not living the life that I was supposed to, and I was not
Wow.
treating her the way that she deserved. So if you love your wife and you don't follow Christ, I encourage you, become the leader that you were meant to be. Because when you start actually having that leadership in Christ and you start actually moving in what Christ has for you and for your family, everything changes. The person that you become is like a much better person than what you could be now. But eventually, with my business, we started hiring a lot of people. We were very successful. We hired this couple who started working for us, and they were really good at what they were doing. In our business, we did something called ride-alongs, which is something that where you will go with the salesman, and we will watch their sales pitch. And as we will watch their sales pitch, we'll know the things that they did wrong and all that stuff. My wife started going a lot with this woman's husband, to do these ride-alongs. And one night, I received a text message from the woman and saying your wife wasn't faithful, and my life crumbled. My life completely crumbled, um, because that night I lost my wife, I lost my job, I eventually lost all the money. I kind of lost everything in one text message. It was like everything was gone. I had moved thousands of miles away from where my family lives to be with this girl. I had nothing. I had my brother who was living a couple minutes away, and that was it. Um, so I feel like that was a way of saying all the arrogance, everything that you believed that you were, everything that you believed that you built, it just kind of went away in one message at 3 o'clock in the morning. Um, it was the lowest of the low that I've ever been. Um,
Yeah.
uh, I don't really remember exactly everything. I just know that God aligned so many things for me to be saved, for me to find Him, or for me to actually allow Him to come into my heart. Um, so whenever I lost everything, my brother came to stay with me for a few days. And the first thing that he did was he was like, "Do you want to watch The Chosen?" I don't know if anybody has seen The Chosen. If you haven't, I encourage you to watch it. It's a really great show. But I said, "No, I've never seen The Chosen." He said, "Do you want to watch it?" And I said, "Okay, whatever. You can put it on while we're here." So the first episode comes on. I have been crying for a while. I hadn't ate in days, and there was a scene, and I will never forget this scene. It's probably the one of the biggest moments of my life, where the guy that plays Jesus looks into the camera. He's talking to Mary, and he says, actually, this was the verse I wanted to use, is Isaiah 43:1. He says, "I have called you by name, and because of that, you're mine." Um, and when he says that to the camera, I felt a lightning into my heart, and I didn't understand why, but I started crying so much. And this was not tears of pain. It was not the same crying that I was doing before. This was some tears of joy that I didn't understand. And as I cried, my brother looked at me. He said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I have no idea." And he said, "Well, we're taking the youth group to this trip. We're going to the Louisiana Outpouring. If you've never been to the Louisiana Outpouring, highly recommend it. Best conference in Louisiana. But to the Louisiana Outpouring. Let me call the youth pastor, see if we have extra tickets, a chance that you can go." And I was like, "No, we don't. You don't have to do that." Obviously, the youth pastor is my ex mother-in-law. Um, at that point, well, it's still my mother-in-law at that point, and he calls her, and she's crying, and she said, "Absolutely, let's do it." And they get me a ticket. 2 days later, I'm heading to Alexandria to the Louisiana Outpouring. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
I'm
you have
trying to
no idea.
no, no idea what's going on. I'm going with the youth group, trying to keep it together so they don't know what's going on, because nobody knows what's going on for the kids. And I get to the first meeting, and obviously it's going to be Nathan Morris preaching. Um, who else? And the very first thing that happens is Dr. Remedios comes out, and he kind of introduces what's going on, and something in his heart tells him to go and pray for every person in attendance before
Sounds
they.
about right.
Yep. And he starts all these things, and I don't understand what's going on, and I'm hoping he doesn't come to me, and eventually he makes his way over to me. He looks at me in the eyes, and this is how crazy this is. He looks at me in the eyes, and he says, "I can feel your pain." And when he said that, I felt chills, and he touched my heart, and he said, "I can feel your pain." And when he said that, I fell into the ground, and I just cried. I don't know why I felt. I don't know what happened, but I just cried. And my mother-in-law was sitting beside me, and she was crying, and because obviously it was a big deal for her, um, so she was crying as well. Finally, I get up, started the meeting. Um, Nathan Morris preaches an amazing message. I can't tell you what he preached. I cried the whole time.
Doesn't
All
he
I,
always preach an amazing message?
yes, he always does.
Someone needs to tell Nathan that he needs to come on my broadcast eventually.
That's true. That's true. Maybe if we talk enough about him, he'll listen. He'll
Yeah,
come.
we'll post this on Facebook, and we'll just keep tagging him and tagging him and tagging him until he watches it up and be like,
Yes.
"Listen, I need some Nathan Morris energy in my broadcast."
Yeah, some of that fire, man. Some of that fire. But yeah. So he got done with his preaching, and he did an altar call. I don't remember the altar call. All I remember is before he was even done doing the altar call, I was already on the altar. I was on my knees crying, and he grabbed my hand. I gave my life to Jesus for the first time, for real.
For
and
real, for real.
for real. And I fell backwards and I cried. And I don't really remember how I got home or to the hotel. Uh, the next morning, we were so tired because Nathan preached longer than he was supposed to. So he went till like 1 o'clock in the morning, and the next session was at like 7. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, so he was. We were debating not to go, debating not to go to this session. We were late. It was supposed to be at 7. It was like 7:30. We were 20 minutes away, so we would have been late anyways. But the youth pastor, my mother-in-law, gets up and says, "I feel like we should be there." So they load all the kids into the bus. We head that way. As we're walking in, there's another preacher by the name of Mauricio Canales. Great
Mhm.
preacher, great friend. Love you, Mauricio. Hope to see you again soon. He comes to our church a lot. But
Again, I love Mauricio on our broadcast too.
I'll send you his number.
I got to meet him in Orlando, and
Yeah,
dude's
he's a great.
fireball, man.
He is. He's a great man. But this is where it gets crazy. This is where I knew that God was calling me to something bigger. Um, as soon as we walked in the doors, Mauricio's speaking, and he says, "Okay, I need to speak to somebody. The Holy Spirit has been talking to me all day, but I can't keep this anymore." And mind you, we just got there. He's been preaching for about almost an hour now, and he said, "I can't keep this anymore." He says, "There is somebody in here that your first love just completely broke your heart." He says, "You just went through something like so hard." And he said, "You were not supposed to be here. Somebody that means a lot to you found you tickets, and 2 days ago you were not supposed to be here, but you're here because God has a plan for you."
Wow.
And everybody's looking at me. Everybody that knows, obviously, is looking at me, and they're like, "That's you." And I'm like, "I know," and I'm crying, and I don't know what to do. He says, "We're gonna talk after." And he keeps on with his preaching. Well, then he says, "I want to pray for everybody under 25." I was 24, so he's like, "All right, everybody, come on." So I go up there, and he looks at me in the eyes when he prays for me, and he cries, and I don't know what he said to me, but he puts his hand on my chest, and I fall. And I don't remember this. I saw this on video. After I fall, he takes his jacket off, and he puts it over me. And I didn't understand the meaning of that until after somebody explained it to me, that that was like him putting his mantle over me.
Oh
Like,
wow.
this is basically what I do is something you're gonna do. And man, I broke. When they explained that to me and I saw it on video, I broke again. God was just pulling into my heart and just trying to pull me out of a pit that I didn't know how to get out of.
Wow.
Uh, I had lost so much, and in those 4 days, God just completely gave me a completely different mindset. Um, and I needed it because I would have not made it without it. Uh, at some points during before that, I mean, after losing everything, you think that there's no reason to go on. There's no reason to try to redo everything. Sometimes, I mean, suicidal thoughts come through. So many things come through. I didn't want to get out of the house, depression, anxiety, all these things. It was something I didn't understand, and God just reached down in 4 days and completely got me out of that. And the best part of it all is that when He got me out, it wasn't a "I'm gonna get you out and I'm gonna leave you high and dry," because I literally didn't have anything. I didn't have a job. I kind of had a house, but not really anywhere to that it was mine. I didn't have a family, nothing like that. And He said, "I'm going to give you the family that you've had that you didn't want," which was my ex-wife's family. And they helped me more than anybody else. My youth pastor, my mother-in-law, you actually met her at graduation. She was there.
She was an amazing woman.
She's an amazing woman of God. Love her to death. Um, my ex-wife's sister, who was the pastor's wife, and her husband, the pastor. I mean, I think I ate supper there every night for almost 2 years. It was like, "I'm gonna give you people that are gonna help you through this." And He gave me 2 years of people that you wouldn't think that would actually be part of my life, that actually became the most important people in my life for a while. And whenever He did that, it wasn't just I'm gonna give you for company so that it can help you with your depression. It was more of a I'm gonna give you the pastor of the church that actually went exactly to the same thing that you're going through, and
Wow.
he's gonna be probably the best mentor you ever had, and he's gonna take you out of this, and not just through like being there, but also teaching you about the word, but also like preaching to you on the daily basis, or being a counsel whenever you don't have anybody else to talk to, and stuff like that, which was amazing. Those 2 years, it was good. I mean, it was hard, but it was good. And then one day, finally, it was time to move on. It was time to go. My ex-wife married the guy, and he became part of that family. And whenever he comes in and be part of the family, kind of like takes me out. So that was when I finally understood the phrase of "you didn't know what you had until you lost it."
Yeah.
Because when I had this family, when they were my family, I didn't want anything to do with them. And then when I lost them, they actually became the most important people in my life.
Wow.
So I understood that, but at the same time, God gave me a piece of you can't take them where I'm taking you.
That's good.
They're always going to be there, and they're always going to be like my family, but I couldn't bring them to the next chapter of my life. So I went to CFAN, and we did amazing things, and this year has been the craziest year of my life. But here's what I wanted
Ditto.
to. Huh?
Ditto.
It's been a crazy year. I mean, if you've never been to a CFAN School of Evangelism, fire camp, or anything like that, I highly recommend it. It will change your life forever. Um, I really mean it. You will meet the most amazing people. You'll meet some great friends. Aiden, shout out to all of the CFAN evangelists out there. Um, we love y'all. But whenever I came back from, well, actually, when I went to the School of Evangelism, I had no idea what I was in for. I had no idea everything that was going to go on. I had preached at the church. I was a kids pastor now. By the time I was doing so many things with the church. But man, just becoming an evangelist, whenever you actually get that call and you get that fire that burns in your heart to see lost people saved, and whenever you start actually going to the streets and seeing the lost actually being pulled out of hell and put into heaven, uh,
Mm,
it is a feeling that it puts in your heart of such joy that it makes you forget of everything that you went through, and you're just like, God, I don't care about anything else. I don't care about nothing. All I want to do is I just want to go up to somebody that is lost for the rest of my life and preach to those people, and then find Jesus. You know,
yeah.
just talk one on one, and it was like probably the most fulfilling thing that I've ever experienced. And after that is here's where I wanted to talk to people that have been saved, or you just been saved, or you've been saved for a while, and you feel like things are not going the way that you're supposed to. For the last two weeks, 2 months of my life, I've been thinking, man, I should be doing so much more. Man, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. My life should be here by now. And it wasn't until you asked me to be in this podcast, in this video, that I started actually to dwell on the things that God has done in my life in the last year. And when I thought about it, I was like, man, in the last year, I probably lived more than most people live in an entire lifetime.
Yeah. I feel the same way, and I actually I've had people tell me that they're like, "You've done more in a year than most people do in 10 years, if not 30."
Yeah. And man, and just to tell you just a few things, not for people to think, wow, like look what he's done, but actually look what God can do
Yeah.
um, through somebody. Because I wasn't somebody that was going to travel to preach the gospel. I wasn't somebody that was going to be at revivals, and I never thought of doing anything like this. But in the last year, I spent 3 months in Ohio with you guys, seeing over 300 people saved, which was probably one of the best experiences of my life. I know it was amazing. It was, and I mean, there was just people saved. We didn't count the people that gave their life back to Christ after a while. We didn't count the
Yeah.
miracles that we saw. We didn't count, man, so many things, and there were so many salvations that we didn't actually put into account because sometimes we forgot and stuff like that. But that was the beginning of the year, August of 2023 for me. After that, Sarasota, we saw so many people getting saved.
Powerful.
Man, it was amazing. Got to love that church. I went to Dallas in another revival. We saw so many people saved, so many people getting just delivered. People with drug addictions and all these things coming through,
Wow.
and we just I don't know. It was I can't explain the things that God had done. After that, North Carolina, going over there and preaching the gospel there, being able to be at your wedding, went to Houston and preaching in the streets. I mean, everything has been just and on top of that, being here and I've actually been able to evangelize here at home, just going to Walmarts and seeing people do things. In the midst of that, God giving me a new job, God actually helping me through school so that I can finish another school. So in 2 years, two schools, two graduations. Um, Man, being able to be part of your wedding, I mean, that was one of the best things of this year too.
Oh, it was amazing having you at my wedding. That was an honor.
It was an honor for me, but when I sat down and I thought of all that, I was like, why am I still thinking I should be doing more? Which probably I could be doing more, but I just looked back at what God had done, and I was like, God, you're just so awesome. Like even when I feel like I could be doing more, I should be doing something else. You remind me of everything that you put me through, and it reminded me of I'm dwelling on the things of the world when I could be dwelling on the things God has done, and not just that, planning for the things that God will do, like in the future, which is even better. I didn't get to go to Ecuador. I wish I would have went to Ecuador with you, but
It was so good. I wish you could have been there. It was so good.
man, I wish I could have been there too. But I had other things I had to take care of. But at the same time, it just the feeling of whenever you hit that bottom, and then God actually reached down into that pit and
Yeah.
took you out and gave you everything you need. And now looking at it like from now, like almost 5 years later, looking at it with God really gave me everything that I need. God really just grabbed me and didn't say, "Hey, I'm gonna leave you here, figure it out. Like you're a Christian now." It was I'm gonna give you every single thing that you need. So if you're listening to this and you have gone through anything like that, you have gone through maybe a divorce, somebody breaking your heart in a way that and you don't think that you'll recover, or you have lost your job, you don't have anything left. Maybe you have been struggling with pornography or an addiction to something. Maybe you've been struggling through alcoholism, or you just don't know Jesus at all, and you're just trying to find something that gives your life meaning. Let me tell you from experience that um, God will give you all of those things, all the freedom that you're searching for, all of the company that you need, the love that you're looking, the love that your heart is seeking. All of that is available with Jesus, and He doesn't require payment. He doesn't require anything but you to say yes, just to tell Him yes, just to say, Jesus, I accept you into my heart. I make you Lord of my life, and from now on, even though when things are hard, and even though when I think that I'm not doing enough, even though when I think that I'm not enough, I trust you. And by giving you my trust, I give you my obedience. And whenever you open those doors, I will walk through them.
Wow. That's amazing. So, I have one question for you.
Okay.
Even though you've been hurt by someone you were in love with, does it even compare to the love of Christ?
No, doesn't.
What
Um,
would you say to people that have been heartbroken and have given up on love because of some situation similar to yours, and because of that, don't think they can find love in Christ?
I think that, well, what I would say is you can find love in Christ. The love of God does not compare to anything that we go through. Um, there was a point when I was reading my Bible. I can't really pinpoint it, but um, I can't pinpoint where in the Bible this is. But whenever I understood everything that actually Jesus went through for me, um, not just in the physical way, but in the emotional way, in the psychological way. We don't think about the psychological things that he went through because he was
Yeah.
God. Um, and I started thinking, man, can you imagine being betrayed by your best friend? Your best friend saying that he doesn't know you.
Wow.
The people that you created, that you have called your own, don't even recognize who you are. Like you come here to save their lives and they don't even know who you are. It's like if your children, like if you got home one day and your children are like, "Who are you?" That's how they did to Jesus. That's how the Jews did to Jesus. And I was thinking, man, if he went through all of that and he still loved me, and if I put him through that, because there were so many times where I decided not to know him, I decided to walk away from him, I decided to do other things other than being with him, and he would still love me. That love is bigger than anything that you can go through. And whenever you let him into your heart and you actually allow him to love you the way that he can only love you, nothing that you went through can compare.
Wow.
I'm not saying it's not going to be difficult because there's still hardships and stuff like that, but he will help you through it. And whenever you find that sonship and that belonging, you won't long to belong anywhere else.
Wow. That's amazing. Beautiful answer. To all those watching this podcast today, I I pray heavily that if you have been hurt or broken by someone, or if you've had your life stepped on, maybe you've had it ripped out from under your feet, I pray that today you could experience the love of Christ and you could experience the reckless love that would deny the 99 to chase after the one. That
Um,
would not deny but leave just to chase after the one. I pray that you could find Christ today. I pray that his love will embrace you right now, wherever you are. I don't care if you're in New York, I don't care if you're in Ecuador, I don't care if you're in South Africa. I pray that his love would find you right now. Diego, thank you so much
hey, thank
for
you.
giving us your testimony, and I think it was super powerful. Definitely going to change someone's life. It's definitely going to impact someone's heart. And thank you for your yes to be here today, take time out of your schedule. And more importantly to me, thank you for being a friend. I greatly appreciate it. It's been a blessing.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. I love you, man.
I love you. And for my viewers watching, thank you so much for joining us today. I pray that this has been impactful for you. As always, we love you. God bless you. Check out our website, www.lambertministries.org. And if you haven't already, register for United Conference 2024 coming December 6th through the 8th here in Spring Hill, Florida. No matter where you are, get a plane ticket, get a hotel room. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be amazing. We have some power pack speakers coming for some amazing, impactful sessions and an amazing time of impartation. We look forward to seeing you then. As always, we love you. God bless you. Bye bye.
Bless you.